I can't say that I'm much of a traveler, but this week, this homemaker gets a vacation. Sort of. Last week I showed you making some old-fashioned chocolate chip cookies for the freezer, and I talked about how I don't like to be out of cookie dough in our freezer, which is funny because the next week I decided to pull some of that out unknowingly and bake some cookies for a little road trip that we were going on to the next state above us. This was the perfect example of why I talked about making those cookies and having them stored in the freezer last week, because once I was making my plan for this trip, I could just go into the freezer and pull out my stash and bake up a few cookies. So that was fewer stops in the car, and we'd have something fresh and homemade in the car with us on our road trip. I did not share the recipe last week for these cookies, I don't think, but even if I did, here it is again. If you want to write it down, it is just half a cup of softened butter, which is 1 stick, 3/4 cup brown sugar, 3/4 cup granulated sugar, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of buttermilk or hot water, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of salt, and then a 12-ounce bag of chocolate chips. I also will link the printable version in the description. Another prep of food that I did for this trip was some boiled eggs. We go through boiled eggs normally very fast. If I boil them and put them in the fridge, they are gone very quick. We actually didn't go through these very quick this time, but I made a big batch because our chickens are laying like crazy. My favorite way to make boiled eggs is in the Instant Pot, and so I just put as many as I can fit in there. It's usually a dozen, and I add about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of water, enough for it to come to pressure, which is usually about a cup, and then I set it for 5 minutes at high pressure and let it do its thing, and then I let it natural release for a few minutes, and then I go and release it and immediately put them in ice water. I normally don't struggle too much with the peels coming off of them or peeling off of them very well. That ice water is really what does the trick, and then doing them in the Instant Pot, also having them under pressure like that helps. I did choose to make a cake for this road trip too. Apparently we needed all the treats, but we had 2 cars of people, and I also shared some of these treats with some friends that weren't going on the trip, just in general. And so I decided to go ahead and make a cake. I sliced it up into individual pieces and individually wrapped them, and they were perfect in the car. I made this more of a breakfast cake so that we could eat it for breakfast if we wanted to, with some of those boiled eggs. For this cake, this is the applesauce cake that I have made in a video before. It's actually apple butter cake because we don't have any applesauce anymore. We are going through our last jars of apple butter that I canned up this past fall, and so that's what I use. So this is my apple butter cake, and I decreased the sugar to make it more of a breakfast cake. I will link my apple butter recipe, the printable version, down below, and I will try and get this cake up as well so that I can link the printable version. But the cake, I will read off how you make this. It is a stick of softened butter, 1 cup of white sugar, and 1 cup of brown sugar. Now that's for the regular cake. For this cake, I did half a cup of each. 2 eggs, a jelly jar of apple butter or applesauce, half a cup of milk, I use buttermilk, 2.5 cups of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, half a teaspoon of baking powder, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, a tablespoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground cloves, half a teaspoon of ground allspice, and then you can add nuts if you want. I don't, because my husband is not a big fan of nuts in his desserts like this. You just want to preheat your oven to 350, and then you're going to cream your butter, add your sugars, then you're going to add your eggs, and then your liquids, your applesauce or apple butter, and then your milk. Add in your dry ingredients, and then you're going to pour it all into a greased 9 by 13 pan and bake it for about 45 minutes until the toothpick comes out clean. For this, I just sifted powdered sugar on top, but you also could make an icing if you wanted to. Let's make a 3-cheese quiche. This was dinner for this night. We have breakfast usually at least once a week for dinner. And so this night I did a quiche. I did my pie crust. Then a quiche is just very simple. I always do half a dozen eggs and 1.5 cups of cream. And I do maybe 1 cup or 2 of cheese in the bottom. Sometimes I do all one, sometimes I do different cheese. That's why I say 3-cheese quiche, because sometimes I will mix cheeses for taste, or if that's all that we have in the fridge. But this night I used just cheddar. You could add ham or bacon or sausage, potatoes, whatever you want. You could do a mushroom and spinach version. But for this, I am just going to keep it with the cheese and eggs, keep it really simple. And then I am serving that on the side with ham, leftover ham. I'm just frying that up. I just baked this at around 375 until it's done. fresh parsley to the top, and that gives it a little fun, fresh flavor. Hot, 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 hot. For this road trip, we are headed up north to Missouri, up north of us, to Missouri near Branson. That is right over the Arkansas and Missouri line. This is a very common place for people in our area to go. And so we went up there to stay at Big Cedar Lodge. We couldn't check in until later in the day though, so we drove up early and decided to go do some shopping and go to Bass Pro. We always have to go to Bass Pro. Isla made her first Build-A-Bear, and of course she had to get a Frozen inspired, or that's what she thought. I think this is actually a different movie altogether, but it reminded her of Frozen. She's Frozen obsessed right now. So she made Snowflake. Did you make it? What'd you name her? Snowflake. Then we found Paula Deen's. And now I know this isn't some fancy restaurant, but this is our type of eating. And so we had to go in here and eat at Paula Deen's, and we were so excited I forgot to film any of the food. For this trip, we had a full kitchen and a kitchenette in our room where we were staying, and so we went and bought groceries, things for breakfast and a dinner or two. That way we didn't have to eat out the entire time because that gets expensive. And I even got some flowers to spruce up the dining table in our room. We did a few fun things. One thing we did was we went to an Amish store. Now, this is not the Amish store that I expected it to be, knowing the kinds that are in Missouri, but it was still neat. All of the canned goods and local food was really exciting. We also went to like an adventure type thing. It's not really adventure, but like an arcade type thing. They had this under the sea bowling. This was Isla's first time to bowl, and she did pretty good.
Isla, you knocked them all down. Isla, you knocked them all down.
And of course, we had to hit up an arcade. They had go-karts and bumper cars, an arcade and bowling and pool, and they even had this like rope course. You could be hooked up to like a harness, and there was like zip lines on it, and it was really high, and you could go through that obstacle course, but we did not do that. We had several amenities where we stayed, and so one of those was putt-putt, so we had a family putt-putt night.
Yay!
Good job, Isla Dora. Here's the card. You just keep practicing. Can you get your club? And then come stand over here and watch that. Come here.
She's gonna hand his too. Two. Mimi. Oh, that's so pretty. Mimi, take you down here. Ha ha ha. Okay, now.
hope you enjoyed going on this little road trip with us. I hope you are having a fun spring with your family as well. Thanks for stopping by.